The musty air hung heavy in the dimly lit basement of the Arkham Public Library, a palpable hush blanketing the vast collection of tattered tomes and crumbling volumes. Alex ran his fingers reverently along the aged spines, his heart quickening with each passing second. He had spent countless hours scouring the shelves, searching for any scrap of knowledge that might shed light on the mysteries that had long consumed his waking thoughts. Today, his persistence had been rewarded. Tucked away in the farthest corner, hidden behind a veil of cobwebs and forgotten, lay an ancient tome that seemed to radiate an otherworldly energy. Alex's breath caught in his throat as he gently pulled the book from its resting place, cradling it in his hands as if it were a fragile newborn. The cover was worn and weathered, the once vibrant text now faded to a ghostly whisper. Alex traced the peculiar symbols emblazoned upon the surface, his fingers trembling with a curious mix of excitement and trepidation. This was no ordinary book. The very air around it seemed to hum with a primal, unsettling power. "What on earth have you found, Alex?" A familiar voice cut through the silence, causing him to nearly jump out of his skin. Lena stood in the doorway, her brows furrowed in a mixture of curiosity and concern. Alex's childhood friend had always been the voice of reason, a grounding presence amidst his more impulsive tendencies. But this discovery was unlike anything he had ever encountered. "Lena," he breathed, his eyes never leaving the tome cradled in his arms. I think I've found the Necronomicon." Lena's eyes widened, her skepticism momentarily giving way to a flicker of disbelief. "The Necronomicon? As in the cursed Book of the Dead?" "Alex, don't be ridiculous. That's just a myth." Alex shook his head, his gaze burning with an intensity that Lena had seldom seen. "No, Lena, I'm certain of it. The symbols, the strange energy radiating from the pages. This is the real thing. I can feel it." Lena stepped closer, carefully inspecting the book over Alex's shoulder. Her fingers traced the intricate designs, a shiver running down her spine. "Even if this is the Necronomicon, what on earth are you planning to do with it? You know the legends. That book is said to contain the power to summon unspeakable horrors, to open gateways to realms beyond our understanding." Alex's grip tightened around the tome, his eyes alight with a singular focus. "That's exactly why I have to study it, Lena. The Necronomicon holds the key to unlocking the most profound mysteries of the universe. Just think of the knowledge it could impart, the secrets it could reveal." Lena opened her mouth to protest, but before she could utter a word, a third voice joined the fray. "I'm afraid your friend is right to be concerned, Alex." The pair whirled around to find a tall, imposing figure standing in the shadows. As he stepped into the dim light, Alex and Lena recognized the weathered features and piercing gaze of Michael, a seasoned occult researcher who had become a trusted mentor to them both. "Michael," Alex breathed, his grip on the Necronomicon tightening. "What are you doing here?" Michael's expression was grave, his eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. "I've been monitoring the unusual activity in Arkham for some time now. When I heard you had discovered the Necronomicon, I knew I had to intervene." He stepped closer, his gaze fixed upon the ancient tome. "That book is not something to be trifled with, Alex. The power it contains is beyond your comprehension, beyond the comprehension of any mortal being. If unleashed, it could bring forth unspeakable horrors, the likes of which the world has never seen." Alex's jaw tightened, his initial excitement giving way to a rising sense of unease. "Then what do you suggest we do, Michael? Destroy it? Seal it away forever?" Michael shook his head solemnly. "I'm afraid it's not that simple. The Necronomicon is a conduit to realms beyond our understanding, realms that have been carefully guarded for eons. Tampering with it, even in an attempt to contain its power, could have disastrous consequences." Lena spoke up, her voice tinged with a growing sense of dread. "So what are you saying, Michael? That we just leave it here, hidden away in the library, and pretend we never found it?" Michael's gaze shifted between the two friends, his expression grave. "No, my dear. I'm saying we must learn to wield its power, to understand it before it's too late. The Necronomicon has been awakened, and those those eldritch abominations it can summon are already stirring. If we don't act quickly, the entire town of Arkham may be in grave danger." Alex felt a chill run down his spine, the weight of Michael's words settling like a lead anchor in the pit of his stomach. The Necronomicon, a gateway to realms of unspeakable horror. And he had been the one to uncover it. The responsibility felt like a heavy mantle upon his shoulders, one that he was not sure he was prepared to bear. "Then what do you propose we do, Michael?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Michael's eyes narrowed, a steely resolve etching across his weathered features. "We must delve deeper into the Necronomicon's secrets, Alex. Only by understanding its power can we hope to contain the darkness it has unleashed." Lena opened her mouth to protest, but Alex silenced her with a resolute nod. He knew deep down that there was no turning back. Not now, not after what he had discovered. The Necronomicon had chosen them, and they were duty-bound to uncover its mysteries, no matter the cost. "Then let's get started," Alex said, his gaze hardening with a newfound determination. "The fate of Arkham depends on it." The air in the Arkham Public Library's basement had grown thick with unease, a palpable tension that seemed to cling to every dust-moted particle. Alex clutched the ancient Necronomicon to his chest, his knuckles turning white with the intensity of his grip. Lena's skepticism had given way to a reluctant acceptance, while Michael's weathered features were etched with a grave concern that belied his vast knowledge of the arcane. "We must tread carefully, my friends." Michael's low, rumbling voice broke the stifling silence. "The Necronomicon is a conduit to realms beyond our mortal understanding, realms that have been meticulously guarded for eons, their horrors banished from our world. But now, with the book in our possession, those entities stir once more, sensing an opportunity to breach the veil that separates our dimensions." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine, the weight of Michael's words pressing down upon him like an unseen, oppressive force. "Then what do we do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How do we stop them from whatever it is they're planning?" Michael's gaze darkened, his eyes reflecting the flickering shadows that danced across the basement's crumbling walls. "We must learn to harness the Necronomicon's power, to understand its secrets, before the Eldritch abominations it can summon overwhelm us. Only then can we hope to contain the darkness and banish it back to the abyss from whence it came." Lena's brow furrowed, her arms crossed defensively over her chest. "But you said tampering with the Necronomicon could have disastrous consequences. How can we be sure we won't end up making things worse?" "A fair question, my dear," Michael acknowledged with a solemn nod. "The power contained within the Necronomicon is immense and the risks are grave, but we have no choice. The entities it can summon have already begun to stir, and if we do not act swiftly, the consequences for Arkham and the world beyond may be dire." He stepped closer, his piercing gaze boring into Alex and Lena. "We must work together, combining our knowledge and resources, to uncover the Necronomicon's secrets before it's too late. Time is of the essence, and the forces we face are ancient, cunning, and utterly merciless." Alex felt a surge of determination rise within him, tempered by a growing sense of unease. "Then we have no choice. Let's begin." Over the next few days, the trio pored over the Necronomicon's pages, their minds straining to decipher the arcane symbols and cryptic passages that seemed to shift and writhe before their eyes. Michael's expertise proved invaluable, as he guided them through the book's obscure references to elder gods, unspeakable rituals, and the very nature of reality itself. As they delved deeper into the Necronomicon's secrets, strange occurrences began to plague the town of Arkham. Power outages flickered through the streets, casting the once quaint coastal community into eerie, shadowed darkness. Unexplained noises echoed through the night, sending shivers down the spines of the town's unsuspecting residents. "Something is happening," Michael murmured, his brow furrowed in concentration as he studied the book's pages. "The Necronomicon's power is growing, and the entities it can summon are stirring, sensing an opportunity to breach the veil." Alex felt a chill creep up his spine, his grip tightening on the ancient tome. "What do you mean? What kind of entities are we talking about?" Michael's gaze darkened, the lines of his face etching with a profound sorrow. "Eldritch abominations, Alex? Creatures born from the nightmares of H.P. Lovecraft himself. Beings of unfathomable power, whose very existence defies the laws of our reality." Lena's eyes widened, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and disbelief. "You mean, like the old ones? The great Cthulhu and all the rest of them?" Michael nodded solemnly. "Precisely. The Necronomicon is a gateway to their realm, and if we do not find a way to seal that portal, they will come pouring forth, consuming our world in their wake. The weight of Michael's words hung in the air, thick and oppressive, as Alex and Lena struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the threat they faced. The Lovecraftian mythos, once dismissed as the fanciful ravings of a madman, now seemed all too real, a harbinger of a darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path. "Then we have to stop them," Alex declared, his voice tinged with a newfound determination. "We have to find a way to banish these eldritch abominations back to whatever hellish dimension they came from." Michael's lips quirked into a mirthless smile. "Ah, if only it were that simple, my friend. The entities we face are beyond the comprehension of mortal minds, their powers and motivations utterly alien to our understanding. Banishing them will require a feat of arcane knowledge and sheer will that may very well be beyond our abilities." Lena's face paled, her arms wrapping around herself in a gesture of self-comfort. "So what are you saying, Michael? That we're doomed? That there's no way to stop them?" The older man's expression softened, and he placed a reassuring hand on Lena's shoulder. "Not at all, my dear. But we must tread carefully and be willing to make sacrifices if we are to have any hope of succeeding." Alex felt a lump form in his throat, the implication of Michael's words sending a shiver of dread through him. "Sacrifices? What kind of sacrifices are you talking about?" Michael's gaze darkened once more, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow. "The kind that may require us to delve deeper into the Necronomicon's most twisted and arcane rituals. The kind that may test the very limits of our sanity and moral fortitude." The trio fell silent, the weight of their task pressing down upon them like a physical force. The Necronomicon lay open on the table, its pages whispering secrets that dared not be spoken aloud, secrets that could either save them or condemn them to a fate worse than death. As the shadows lengthened and the strange occurrences beyond the library's walls grew more pronounced, Alex, Lena, and Michael knew that they had crossed a threshold, their lives irrevocably bound to the fate of Arkham and the eldritch horrors that now threatened to consume it. The true battle was only just beginning. The oppressive silence that had enveloped the Arkham Public Library was shattered by the sound of old floorboards creaking under their feet as Alex, Lena, and Michael made their way through the abandoned Arkham mansion. The ancient estate stood like a brooding sentinel on the outskirts of town, its once grand facade crumbling and choked by a tangle of overgrown vines. The trio had traced the origins of the Necronomicon to this dilapidated edifice, a place steeped in the town's dark history and whispers of unspeakable occult practices. As they navigated the labyrinth of dimly lit corridors, the air grew thick with the scent of decay and the oppressive weight of a malevolent presence. Shadows seemed to shift and writhe at the edges of their vision, as if the very walls were alive and watching their every move. Lena's breath caught in her throat, her fingers clutching the sleeve of Alex's jacket. "Are you sure this is the right place, Michael? I have a terrible feeling about this." Michael's weathered features were etched with a grave concern, his piercing gaze scanning their surroundings with the practiced eye of an experienced occult researcher. "I'm afraid we have no choice, my dear. The Necronomicon's trail leads us here, and we must follow it if we are to uncover the secrets that may help us banish the eldritch horrors that have been unleashed." Alex tightened his grip on the ancient tome, his knuckles turning white. "What exactly are we hoping to find here, Michael? Some kind of clue, some ritual or incantation that can help us close the gateway to those things. The older man's expression darkened, a shadow passing over his weathered features. "Perhaps, Alex, but the Arkham Mansion holds many dark secrets, secrets that have been buried and forgotten for decades, if not centuries. We must be prepared to confront the horrors that may lurk within these walls, horrors that may have been summoned by those who came before us, seeking to harness the Necronomicon's power." Lena shuddered, the hairs on the back of her neck standing on end. "You mean like some kind of cult? Or worse?" Michael nodded solemnly. "Precisely. The town of Arkham has a long and troubled history with the occult, and the Arkham Mansion has been at the center of many of these dark rituals and summoning. If the Necronomicon's power was indeed unleashed here, we may find clues or even remnants of the entities that were called forth." Alex felt a chill run down his spine, the weight of their task pressing down upon him like a physical force. "Then we'd better be prepared for anything. Lead the way, Michael." As they delved deeper into the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, the oppressive atmosphere seemed to intensify, the air thick with an unseen menace. Cobwebs clung to the crumbling walls, and the floorboards creaked and groaned underfoot, as if the very structure itself was alive and aware of their presence. Lena's skepticism had long since given way to a growing sense of unease, her eyes darting from one shadowed corner to the next. "Michael, I don't know about this. The further we go, the worse I feel about this whole thing. Maybe we should turn back, regroup, and come up with a better plan." Michael's gaze remained fixed ahead, his steps unwavering. "I understand your trepidation, Lena, but we cannot afford to turn back now. The Necronomicon has been awakened, and the Eldritch abominations it can summon are already stirring. If we do not uncover the secrets hidden within these walls, the consequences for Arkham and the world beyond may be devastating." Alex could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down upon him, the Necronomicon a heavy and foreboding presence in his arms. "Michael's right, Lena. We've come too far to turn back now. Whatever horrors await us, we have to be ready to face them." Lena's jaw tightened, her brow furrowed with a mix of fear and determination. "All right then, let's get this over with." The trio pressed on, the oppressive silence broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards and the distant sound of something, a faint, unsettling whisper that seemed to echo from the very walls themselves, beckoning them forward. As they rounded a corner, Alex's breath caught in his throat. Before them, partially obscured by a veil of cobwebs, stood a heavy oak door, its surface adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and writhe under the dim light. "There," Michael murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "That door. It must lead to the central chamber, the heart of the mansion's occult history." Alex swallowed hard, his grip on the Necronomicon tightening. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's see what secrets it holds." Steeling their nerves, the trio approached the door, their footsteps echoing ominously in the eerie silence. Michael reached out, his weathered fingers curling around the rusted handle, and with a heavy creak, the door swung open, revealing a cavernous chamber beyond. The space was vast and dimly lit, the walls lined with rows of ancient tomes and arcane artifacts. In the center stood a massive ornate pedestal, its surface adorned with intricate carvings and a strange pulsating energy that seemed to thrum through the air. "The Necronomicon's resting place," Michael breathed, his eyes widening with a mixture of awe and trepidation. This must be where the book was kept, where its power was harnessed and channeled. Lena's gaze swept across the chamber, her expression a mask of unease. Then where are the people who were using it? Where are the cultists or whoever it was that summoned those _things_? As if in answer to her question, a sudden movement in the shadows caught their attention, and 3 figures emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured by tattered hoods. "Welcome, intruders," a raspy voice echoed through the chamber, sending a shiver down Alex's spine. "We've been expecting you." The trio instinctively took a step back, their hearts racing as the hooded figures advanced, their movements unnaturally fluid and graceful. "Who are you?" Michael demanded, his voice steady despite the growing tension in the air. "What have you done?" One of the figures let out a chilling, hollow laugh. "Done? Why, we have merely begun to unlock the true power of the Necronomicon, the power to summon the eldritch horrors that will cleanse this world of its impurity." Alex felt his blood run cold, the implications of the figure's words sending a wave of dread through him. "You mean, you've already opened the gateway? The abominations are—" "Already here," the figure interrupted, a sinister smile evident in their tone. "And they're hungry." As if on cue, a deafening roar echoed through the chamber, the very walls trembling with the force of it. Alex, Lena, and Michael whirled around, their eyes widening in horror as a towering, grotesque entity emerged from the shadows, its maw gaping wide in a sickening display of razor-sharp teeth. The battle for Arkham had begun. The towering Eldritch abomination loomed before them, its gaping maw unleashing a bone-chilling roar that sent tremors through the very foundations of the Arkham mansion. Alex, Lena, and Michael instinctively took a step back, their eyes widening in a mix of horror and disbelief. The creature was a sight to behold, a grotesque amalgamation of twisted, sinewy limbs and glistening otherworldly flesh. Its bulbous, misshapen head was crowned with a ring of jagged, tentacle-like appendages that seemed to undulate and writhe with a mind of their own. Rows of razor-sharp teeth lined its cavernous mouth, dripping with a viscous, noxious-looking fluid. Lena felt her breath catch in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribcage. "What is that thing?" she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael's expression was grim, his gaze never leaving the towering abomination. "An eldritch horror, my dear, one of the entities that the Necronomicon can summon from the realms beyond our understanding. A creature of pure, unfathomable malevolence." Alex clutched the ancient tome to his chest, his knuckles turning white with the intensity of his grip. "How do we stop it?" Michael's piercing gaze shifted to the hooded figures that had emerged from the shadows, their sinister laughter echoing through the cavernous chamber. "Those cultists, they must be the ones who summoned this _thing_. We need to find a way to break their control over it, to sever the connection between the Necronomicon and this abomination." One of the hooded figures stepped forward, their raspy voice dripping with malicious glee. "Ah, but you cannot hope to vanquish what has already been summoned. The gateway has been opened, and the eldritch horrors will continue to pour forth, consuming this wretched town and all who dare to stand in their way." Lena felt a shiver of dread run down her spine, her mind racing to find a solution. "Then what are we supposed to do? How do we stop them?" Michael's expression hardened, his gaze darting between the looming creature and the cultists. "We must find a way to channel the Necronomicon's power, to use its arcane rituals and incantations against the very entities it has summoned. It's a dangerous gambit, but it may be our only hope." The eldritch abomination let out another earth-shaking roar, its gaze fixed upon the trio with a malevolent, hungry intensity. Lena felt her legs tremble, her knees threatening to give out beneath her. "Michael, I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, her voice quavering with fear. "That thing, it's just too much _." Michael placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his weathered features etched with a mixture of understanding and determination. "I know, my dear, but we must try. The fate of Arkham, the fate of the world, rests on our shoulders." Lena swallowed hard, steeling her nerves as best she could. "All right, what do we need to do?" Alex, his eyes burning with a newfound resolve, stepped forward. "Let's start with the Necronomicon. If this thing was summoned using its power, then we need to find a way to use that power against it." Michael nodded, his gaze shifting to the ornate pedestal at the center of the chamber. "Yes, that's precisely what we must do. The Necronomicon's resting place. It must hold the key to unraveling the connection between the book and the eldritch horror." The hooded figures shifted uneasily, their raspy laughter cutting through the tension. "Fools, you cannot hope to wield the power of the Necronomicon. It will consume you, just as it has consumed us." Alex tightened his grip on the ancient tome, his eyes narrowing with determination. "We'll take that chance. Now, let's get to work." The trio approached the pedestal, their senses on high alert for any sudden movements from the eldritch abomination or the cultists. Michael carefully examined the intricate carvings, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This seems to be some sort of ritual circle," he murmured, his fingers tracing the symbols with a reverent touch. "If we can decipher the incantations and channel the Necronomicon's power through this conduit, we may be able to disrupt the connection between the book and the creature." Lena's heart raced, her gaze darting nervously between the pedestal and the towering abomination. "But how do we know it won't just make things worse? What if we end up unleashing something even more horrific?" Michael's expression was grave, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow. "We don't, my dear, but we have no choice. The alternative is to watch as this eldritch horror and its kind consume Arkham, and perhaps the entire world. We must take the risk." Alex, his determination unwavering, placed the Necronomicon on the pedestal, his fingers tracing the intricate symbols with a reverent touch. "Then let's do it. What do we need to do?" Michael's gaze sharpened, his voice low and measured. "We must perform a complex ritual, one that will channel the Necronomicon's power and use it to sever the connection between the book and the eldritch abomination. It will be dangerous, and the consequences could be devastating if we make even the slightest mistake. The hooded figures began to advance, their sinister laughter echoing through the chamber. Fools, you cannot hope to control the power you wield. The Eldritch horrors will consume you all. Lena's heart pounded in her chest, her hands trembling with a mixture of fear and adrenaline. Michael, we have to hurry. They're coming. Michael nodded, his expression grim. Then let us begin. Alex, Lena, I need you to focus your energy, your very essence, into the ritual. Channel the Necronomicon's power, but be vigilant. The slightest misstep could be our undoing. As the hooded figures closed in, Alex, Lena, and Michael began the intricate incantation, their voices rising in a haunting, otherworldly chant. The air around them crackled with energy, the Necronomicon's pages fluttering as if in the throes of a spectral wind. The Eldritch abomination let out a deafening roar, its massive limbs lashing out towards the trio, but they remained steadfast, their focus unwavering as they poured their very beings into the ritual. The chamber erupted in a blinding flash of light, the sheer power of the Necronomicon's energy surging through the air. Alex, Lena, and Michael felt their senses assaulted by a torrent of sensations, the acrid stench of ozone, the deafening cacophony of unearthly screeches, the searing heat that threatened to consume them. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the onslaught subsided, leaving a palpable silence in its wake. The trio blinked, their eyes adjusting to the dim light, and they gasped in a mixture of relief and disbelief. The Eldritch abomination was gone, its towering form having been reduced to a pile of smoldering, unrecognizable remains. The hooded figures, too, had vanished, leaving no trace of their sinister presence. We did it, Lena breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. We actually did it. Michael's expression was weary, but tinged with a hint of cautious triumph. Yes, my dear, but I fear this is only the beginning. The Necronomicon's power has been unleashed, and the eldritch horrors it can summon are still out there, waiting to breach the veil. Alex's grip tightened on the ancient tome, his gaze hardening with a newfound determination. Then we'll be ready. Whatever else they throw at us, we'll be ready. The trio knew that the true battle had only just begun, and that the fate of Arkham and perhaps the entire world rested on their shoulders. With the Necronomicon in their possession, they would have to delve even deeper into its arcane secrets, uncovering the knowledge they needed to banish the eldritch abominations back to the abyss from whence they came. The town of Arkham would never be the same again. The acrid stench of ozone still lingered in the cavernous chamber, a palpable reminder of the sheer power they had just unleashed. Alex, Lena, and Michael stood amidst the smoldering remains of the eldritch abomination, their hearts racing and their senses still reeling from the intensity of the ritual. Did we really just do that? Lena's voice was barely above a whisper, her expression a mix of awe and disbelief. Michael's weathered features were etched with a profound solemnity, his gaze sweeping across the chamber. Yes, my dear. We have managed to sever the connection between the Necronomicon and the eldritch horror it summoned, but I fear this is only the beginning. Alex tightened his grip on the ancient tome, his knuckles turning white. What do you mean? Shouldn't we have stopped the threat? Shouldn't the town be safe now? Michael shook his head, his expression darkening. I'm afraid it's not that simple, Alex. The Necronomicon is a gateway to realms beyond our mortal understanding, realms that have been carefully guarded for eons. Disrupting the connection between the book and the abomination we just faced has likely only served to stir the other entities that dwell in those dark dimensions. Lena felt a shiver run down her spine, the implications of Michael's words sinking in. You mean there are more of those things out there, and they're going to come after us? Precisely, my dear, Michael replied, his gaze growing somber. The Necronomicon is a powerful and dangerous artifact, one that was never meant to be wielded by mortal hands. By disrupting the ritual, we may have inadvertently awakened even greater horrors, entities that will stop at nothing to recover the book and reclaim the gateway to their realm. Alex felt a lump form in his throat, the weight of their responsibility pressing down upon him. Then what do we do? How do we stop them? Michael's expression hardened with determination. We must delve deeper into the secrets of the Necronomicon, to uncover the knowledge we need to banish these eldritch abominations back to the abyss from whence they came. But in doing so, we risk unleashing even greater horrors. Horrors that may test the very limits of our sanity and moral fortitude. Lena's brow furrowed, her arms crossing defensively over her chest. You keep talking about these horrors and abominations, but what exactly are we dealing with here? What kind of entities are we up against? Michael's gaze darkened, his voice lowering to a near whisper. The Lovecraftian mythos, Lena. The tales of ancient, unspeakable gods and entities that defy the very laws of reality as we know them. Beings of unfathomable power and malevolence, whose mere existence is an affront to our senses and our sanity. Alex felt a chill run down his spine, the memory of the towering creature they had just vanquished still fresh in his mind. So we're talking about things like Cthulhu, the great old ones? Michael nodded solemnly. Precisely. The Necronomicon is a gateway to their realm, a conduit that allows them to reach into our world and wreak havoc. And if we do not find a way to seal that gateway, to banish them back to the abyss, they will consume everything in their path, Arkham, the world, and perhaps even our very sanity. Lena's expression wavered, a flicker of fear crossing her features. But how can we possibly stop something like that? If they're truly as powerful as you say, how can we hope to defeat them? Michael's gaze hardened with resolve. We must use the Necronomicon's own power against them, Lena. The book contains the knowledge and rituals necessary to confront these eldritch horrors. But in doing so, we risk unleashing even darker forces. Forces that may demand unspeakable sacrifices in exchange for their aid. Alex felt a lump form in his throat, the implications of Michael's words weighing heavily on his mind. Sacrifices. What kind of sacrifices are you talking about? Michael's expression grew somber, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow. The kind that may require us to delve into the Necronomicon's most twisted and arcane rituals, Lena, rituals that may test the very limits of our morality and sanity. The kind that may force us to make choices that could haunt us for the rest of our lives. Lena's gaze darted between Alex and Michael, her apprehension evident. I'm not sure I can do that, Michael. I don't know if I'm strong enough to make those kinds of sacrifices, to make those kinds of choices. Michael placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his expression softening. I know, my dear. Believe me, I understand the weight of what we're asking. But the fate of Arkham, the fate of the world, rests on our shoulders. We must be willing to do whatever it takes to banish these eldritch horrors back to the abyss. Alex's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with a newfound determination. Then let's get started. The longer we wait, the more time those things have to gather their strength and breach the veil. What do we need to do? Michael turned his attention to the Necronomicon, his weathered fingers tracing the intricate symbols adorning its worn cover. We must delve deeper into the book's secrets, to uncover the rituals and incantations that can be used to confront the eldritch abominations. But we must be exceedingly careful. The Necronomicon is not a tool to be wielded lightly, and the knowledge it contains could drive even the most stalwart of minds to madness. Lena's expression wavered, her resolve tested by the looming uncertainty. And what if we can't handle it? What if the price of using the Necronomicon's power is too high? Michael's gaze softened, his voice low and reassuring. Then we must be prepared to make the most difficult of choices, Lena. The fate of Arkham, the fate of the world, hangs in the balance. We cannot afford to turn back, no matter the cost. Alex felt a surge of determination rise within him, tempering the growing unease that threatened to consume him. Then let's get to work. The sooner we can uncover the Necronomicon's secrets, the sooner we can put an end to this nightmare. The trio turned their attention to the ancient tome, their eyes scanning the pages with a newfound urgency. The air in the chamber grew thick with tension, the very walls seeming to tremble with the weight of the knowledge they were about to uncover. As they delved deeper into the Necronomicon's arcane rituals and incantations, the trio found themselves confronted with a level of darkness and depravity that they had never imagined. The book's pages whispered of unspeakable sacrifices, of twisted rites that demanded the ultimate price in exchange for power. Lena felt a wave of nausea wash over her, her hands trembling as she turned the pages. "Michael, I don't know if I can do this. This is too much. It's all too much." Michael's expression was grave, his eyes filled with a profound sorrow. "I know, my dear, but we must be strong for the sake of Arkham, for the sake of the world. The knowledge contained within these pages may be our only hope of saving everything we hold dear." Alex's gaze never wavered from the Necronomicon, his mind racing as he pieced together the twisted puzzle of the book's secrets. "Then tell us what we need to do, Michael. Whatever it takes, we'll do it." Michael's weathered features hardened with determination. "Very well. Brace yourselves, my friends, for the true battle is only just beginning." As the trio delved deeper into the Necronomicon's darkest mysteries, the air in the chamber grew thick with a palpable sense of dread, a harbinger of the unspeakable horrors that were yet to come. The oppressive silence that had settled over the Arkham mansion was shattered by a deafening roar that seemed to reverberate through the very foundations of the crumbling structure. Alex, Lena, and Michael whirled around, their eyes widening in horror as a massive tentacled form emerged from the shadows, its gaping maw unleashing a bone-chilling shriek. "Another one," Michael breathed, his weathered features etched with a mixture of trepidation and grim determination. "We must act quickly before it breaches the veil completely." Alex tightened his grip on the Necronomicon, his knuckles turning white. "What do we do? How do we stop this thing? Michael's gaze darted across the chamber, his mind racing to formulate a plan. "The ritual, Alex. We must channel the Necronomicon's power once more, but this time we must be prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice." Lena felt a shiver run down her spine, her voice trembling with apprehension. "Sacrifice, Michael, what are you saying?" The older man's expression was grave, his eyes reflecting the weight of the decision he was about to impart. "The Necronomicon's power is vast, Lena, but it comes at a terrible price. To banish this eldritch horror back to the abyss, we may have to offer up something of ourselves, something that could cost us our very sanity, or even our lives." Alex felt a lump form in his throat, the implications of Michael's words sinking in. "You can't be serious. Surely there must be another way." Michael shook his head solemnly. "I wish there were, Alex, but time is of the essence. The Eldritch abomination grows stronger by the minute, and if we do not act now, it will breach the veil and bring forth an army of its kind, consuming everything in its path." Lena's gaze darted between the towering creature and her two companions, her mind racing to find an alternative. "But Michael, the cost? How can we be sure we'll even survive? What if we're not strong enough to bear the sacrifices the Necronomicon demands?" Michael's expression softened, a hint of understanding and empathy flickering across his weathered features. "I know, Lena. Believe me, I know. But we have no choice. The fate of Arkham, the fate of the world, rests on our shoulders. We must be willing to do whatever it takes, no matter the personal cost." Alex felt a surge of determination rise within him, tempering the growing sense of dread that threatened to consume him. "Then let's do it. What do we need to do?" Michael nodded, his gaze hardening with resolve. "We must perform a ritual, one that will channel the full power of the Necronomicon and use it to banish the eldritch horror back to the abyss. But it will be dangerous, and the sacrifices we must make will be profound." Lena swallowed hard, her expression wavering with a mix of fear and resignation. "Tell us what we need to do, Michael. If there's no other choice, then we have to try." Michael's fingers traced the intricate symbols adorning the Necronomicon's pages, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The ritual involves a complex series of incantations, each one more demanding than the last. We must pour our very essence, our deepest fears and darkest desires, into the ritual, a sacrifice that will test the limits of our sanity and morality." Alex felt a chill run down his spine, but his resolve remained unwavering. "I'm ready, Michael. Tell me what I need to do." Michael's gaze shifted to Lena, his expression softening with a hint of empathy. "Lena, my dear, I understand the weight of what I'm asking. If you feel you cannot bear the sacrifices required, I will not hold it against you. You are free to leave, and we will find another way to confront this abomination." Lena's jaw tightened, her eyes hardening with a newfound determination. "No, Michael, I'm not going anywhere. We started this together and we'll finish it together, no matter the cost." Michael's lips quirked into a solemn smile. "Then let us begin. Alex, Lena, I need you both to focus your energy, your very essence, into the ritual. Channel the Necronomicon's power, but be vigilant. The slightest misstep could be our undoing." The trio gathered around the Necronomicon, their voices rising in a haunting, otherworldly chant. The air crackled with energy, the ancient tome's pages fluttering as if in the throes of a spectral wind. The Eldritch abomination let out another deafening roar, its massive tentacles lashing out towards the trio, but they remained steadfast, their focus unwavering as they poured their very beings into the ritual. As the incantation reached its crescendo, Alex, Lena, and Michael felt a searing pain rip through their bodies, as if their very souls were being torn asunder. Memories, fears, and desires that they had buried deep within themselves bubbled to the surface, manifesting in twisted, distorted forms that threatened to consume them. Lena let out an anguished scream as she was confronted with visions of her own darkest impulses, a hunger for power, a thirst for vengeance, a longing to escape the constraints of her own mortality. Michael grimaced, his eyes squeezed shut, as he wrestled with the specters of his past failures, his deepest regrets, and the weight of the choices he had made. And Alex was forced to confront the very essence of his being, the driving force that had led him to uncover the Necronomicon in the first place. His thirst for knowledge, his obsession with the arcane, had opened the gateway to this nightmare, and now he was being forced to reckon with the consequences of his actions. The trio's anguished cries echoed through the chamber, mingling with the Eldritch abomination's deafening roars as the ritual reached its climax. The very fabric of reality seemed to ripple and distort, the boundaries between the physical and metaphysical realms blurring until they were indistinguishable. And then, in a blinding flash of light, everything went silent. When Alex, Lena, and Michael opened their eyes, the Eldritch horror had vanished, its towering form reduced to little more than a pile of smoldering, unrecognizable remains. The chamber was eerily quiet, the only sound the ragged, labored breathing of the trio as they struggled to regain their composure. Lena's face was streaked with tears, her expression a mask of utter exhaustion. Did we do it? Is it over?" Michael's weathered features were etched with a profound sorrow, his eyes reflecting the weight of the sacrifices they had been forced to make. "For now, my dear, but the true battle has only just begun." Alex felt a cold chill run down his spine, his grip tightening on the Necronomicon. "What do you mean? Weren't we able to banish the abomination back to the abyss?" Michael's gaze hardened with a newfound resolve. "Yes, we succeeded in that endeavor, but the Necronomicon's power has been unleashed, and the eldritch horrors it can summon are still out there, waiting to breach the veil once more. The town of Arkham, and perhaps the world, will never be the same again." Lena felt a wave of dread wash over her, her voice trembling with a mix of exhaustion and apprehension. "Then what do we do, Michael? How do we stop them from coming back?" Michael's expression grew somber, his eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. "We must remain vigilant, my friends. The Necronomicon's secrets have been unlocked, and we now hold the key to both its salvation and its downfall. The choice is ours, and the consequences will be far-reaching." Alex felt a surge of determination rise within him, tempered by a growing sense of unease. "Then we'll be ready, whatever comes next. The town of Arkham, the world, they're counting on us. We can't back down now." The trio stood in the eerie silence of the chamber, the weight of their responsibility pressing down upon them like a physical force. The Necronomicon lay open before them, its pages whispering secrets that dared not be spoken aloud, secrets that would shape the fate of Arkham and perhaps the entire world in the days to come. As the shadows lengthened and the air grew thick with a palpable sense of foreboding, Alex, Lena, and Michael knew that their battle was far from over. The eldritch horrors had been banished for now, but the true test of their resolve was yet to come.